Hello and welcome to part 2 of emotional readiness. This session really focuses on the importance of secure attachment. That is the primary relationship that a young baby forms with his primary caregivers, usually his mom and dad. Oftentimes it can be a child provider, care provider, or a grandparent as well. But the secure attachment, the foundation of relationships, the very beginning of a child's life is what we're going to focus on in this session. As we talked about in the previous session, we're really redefining school readiness, or ways in which to get children prepared for kindergarten, as ways in which to help children be emotionally ready, have the ability to form and maintain relationships, experience and express and regulate emotion, and learn through play and discovery. And our main question is, how do we make it easier for children to be ready for kindergarten? And in this session, we're really going to talk about how do we make it easier for babies to be ready for kindergarten. Secure attachment is actually something that we can measure. Sometime between 9 months and 18 months or 24 months, researchers have developed what's called the strain situation. It was originally developed by Mary Ainsworth as a way of looking at how do we define the characteristics of this early relationship, the quality of the early relationship that young children have with their parents. The reason that it's important to use something that's measurable is I was in a system change workshop, and it was led by 2 environmental researchers, and their feeling was that system change or system theory could be applied to any issue in which there was a measurable result that had an input and an output, if you will. And that the goal was to fill the bathtub, as you can see here, with 100% of something. And in my case, what I want to say is I want 100% of all infants and toddlers to have a secure attachment with at least one, maybe more than one, primary caregiver in their life that is consistent, reliable, responsive, and is able to be there in that for that baby as they develop through those first few years, and hopefully on through a longer period of time than that. Obviously, we want children to be cared for by loving adults throughout their entire life, but we're really focusing on the early relationship that children have with their primary caregiver. We're going to come back to this bathtub idea because our goal is 100% of all children to have this early relationship. And what I want to talk about in this session is, what does a secure attachment relationship mean, and why is it important, and what does it look like? So attachment theory is this idea that attachment is a history of interactions that the child has with their primary caregiver. It helps inform the child about who they are to gain a sense of self and how important they are in the world. In many ways, it's through this basic relationship that the child forms over a series of interactions with their primary caregiver that helps children learn about relationships, about themselves, about their emotions, and about learning through discovery and play. Alan Schroff, who's been at the University of Minnesota, is an emeritus faculty member there and a longtime historian and researcher in the area of attachment. Describes attachment as a way of understanding how the early caregiving relationship between a baby and his mom support his early development, and how the defining characteristics of that relationship, that is the qualities of that particular relationship, are incorporated into how the child thinks about themselves, how they go about forming relationships with others, and how they really go forward into the world as a capable and competent person. So attachment is nothing about an extraordinary moment of time. It's really about a series of experiences that the child has with their primary caregiver through time. So we think about the 5-month-old in the middle of the night, and mom has just gone to bed after studying for her GED, and the baby wakes up and starts to cry, and she lays there for a moment hoping that the baby's going to go back to sleep. And the baby's cry changes, and she realizes she has to get out of bed and goes over to the baby, picks the baby up, sits down and begins to feed the baby, stroking his head. And although she's exhausted, she really is in love with this baby in this moment in the middle of the night. After the baby finishes eating, she puts the baby back to bed and goes back to bed herself. Nothing extraordinary, everything ordinary. But when that happens night after night after night, the child begins to develop, the baby begins to develop the sense of importance of what they mean to mom. How upset does he need to get before mom comes and answers? That his cries and signals are listened to and figured out. And that idea of a consistent, reliable, responsive caregiver that really answers the baby's needs in that moment really helps that baby develop a sense of importance. Now, not every single night do we get it right, or the baby needs to be changed of fed, but it's about a history of experiences. So the mom figures out, oh, it wasn't that, they need to be changed, the baby needs to be changed, and so she changes the baby's diaper. It is about that history of experiences, that accumulative response of being consistently and reliably cared for, listened to, that really develops that sense of what we call a secure attachment. And that attachment sets a foundation for later development. It sets a foundation for how a 3 and 4-year-old thinks about him or herself. It sets a foundation for how children go into kindergarten and what they expect from the teacher, they expect from the other children. It sets a foundation for romantic partnerships. And we're going to talk about each of these stages. So we can go from, in our last session, we looked at Ethan and paper tearing and the delight that he showed, his engagement with his dad, his ability to regulate and express his positive emotions, and his delight in learning. And we can begin to see how that translates, that secure base that is formed during the first couple of years, how that translates into the child's sense of self and their sense of others. We're going to look at 2 other children. As they begin to show us what they believe about themselves in these delightful moments. The first one is Jessica's affirmations. And all of these videos are available on YouTube. You can replay them, look at other similar videos that are out there. Really is an opportunity to look at her delight and her sense of self.
Look, I can be a shark. Now, my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my mom. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone.
So we can see that she can do anything great. And isn't that exactly what we want every kindergartner to walk through the door believing? Every young child, that they can do anything great. And that they love everyone and everything. So that sheer sense of delight, the sheer confidence and ability, if you are a kindergarten teacher, if you're a 3rd grade teacher, that is the child you want in your classroom. The one that has the confidence in herself and her confidence in others, that she can express that sense of well-being, of excitement, and that others around her are also going to support that. I have another video that I want to show you. This one actually made it onto one of the morning TV programs recently. It's a young boy who was trying to learn to ride his bike. His name is Owen. He had been trying for 3 weeks rather unsuccessfully. In fact, his dad had said that Owen had told his dad that he should sell the bike because he was never going to learn to ride the bike. This moment, Owen's dad captured on his cell phone, really shows Owen's delight at having learned to ride his bike.
I feel.
Do you feel alive?
I feel happy of myself.
I feel happy of yourself too. What do you got? Any words of wisdom? What about for all the other kids trying to learn how to ride their bike? Can you say anything to them?
Everybody, I know you can believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you will know how to ride a bike. If you don't, you just keep practicing. You will get the hang of it, I know it. If you keep practicing, you will get the hang of it, and then you can get better and better at it if you do it.
Give me some thumbs up.
Thumbs up, everybody!
All right.
For rock and roll!
So my favorite comment there is, I feel happy of myself. And what Dad so brilliantly and probably even not knowingly does is he repeats back to Owen, I feel happy of yourself too. He takes the statement, doesn't change the grammar, and lets Owen own the moment. I feel happy of yourself too. So that sense of confidence that Owen has is really supported in that moment by this very simple statement that Dad makes. Dad also does a couple of other really important things. He says to Owen, what words of wisdom do you have for the other children who are trying to learn to ride their bike? Imagine your parent not only feeling so happy for you, but also believing that you have something to share with others, that you have a commitment, that you have the ability to inspire others, to encourage others, that your experience is not just important for you, but important for your community. We talk about wanting to develop the sense of community. We want to talk about the opportunity to develop empathy in other children, caring about how other children feel. This is really that delightful moment where Owen's dad does it so naturally. And does Owen ever take the stage? Right up onto the curb, he is going to tell everyone, you just need to believe in yourself. You just need to keep trying. Those words we know didn't originate in Owen. They were the words that he heard over and over again through the past 3 weeks as his parents supported him in learning to ride the bike. If you just keep trying, I know you can do it. And so it is through the experiences that young children have that they begin to develop that I matter attitude, that I am important and my importance can help be engaged and support others. So this secure foundation, this ability to believe in the children, to support their sense of confidence, to support their competence, to help them be engaged with others, is really what lays that foundation, that I matter attitude. And if we think for a moment about what the parents are doing in the case with Owen's dad, asking Owen, tell us what you think other children, or if we look back to other Ethan and the paper tearing that we looked at in a previous segment, what we see is parents scaffolding, helping make children successful, helping them own the moment, and really being engaged in the relationship with them as they develop that sense of confidence. What we find is children that start with this foundation of secure attachment. And remember, we're measuring attachment sometime in the second year of life, the end of the first year, beginning of the second year, from maybe 12 to 18 months. We can see that during that period of time, children are able to form a relationship that is sensitive, responsive, and with a sensitive, responsive, caring adult that really prepares them to be engaged, to be socially competent. And we have research that supports that when children enter school, those who enter with secure attachments are more socially competent. They form relationships with other children who also have secure attachments. It's as if they have the same language, the language of relationships, the language of reciprocity, the language of forming relationships by making eye contact, by being engaged in two-way conversation, by joint problem solving. Children with secure attachments become peer leaders. They become the ones that other kids turn to who want to be with. They take turns being leaders. They really understand the give and take of relationships. We also see that children with secure attachment are treated by their teachers with warmth and high expectations. Ethan's parents didn't say, "Oh, it's okay, son, you're not going to learn to ride, so I think we should sell your bike." They said, "You just keep practicing. I know you can do it. You can get there." It's high expectations. For most of our work in the achievement gap in helping children be successful, we see it is the combination between warmth and high expectations that leads to the best outcomes. Securely attached kids are entering the academic setting already with the skills that's going to evoke warmth and high expectations from their teachers. It, in essence, makes learning easier. That because they have confidence in relationships, because they have confidence in managing their emotion and expressing their emotion, and because they've learned to be engaged in learning, their teachers are going to come along and tap those same skills, and the children can expect that responsive opportunity with their teachers to learn and be engaged and move forward. We also can see that children are better at math. It shows up in elementary school and later on in middle school. The children with secure attachments have higher math scores. Now, it isn't because their IQs are different. Attachment doesn't impact IQ. What it impacts is the child's ability to be engaged in learning. It impacts goal readiness. It impacts when that child is sitting there with a math problem that they don't know how to solve, that they raise their hand and ask the teacher so the teacher can say, "Did you try it this way? I know you can do it. Just keep trying. You're really good at math." Children evoke that kind of response from their teachers that helps support their learning. They turn to their peers and say, "I didn't know how to do this. How did you do it?" "Oh, I get it now." They have the confidence in relationship to help them manage things that they can't get on their own in the first place. It's much like that middle of the night feeding. When the baby cries and the mom comes and helps the baby feel better, gets the baby changed or feeds the baby, that the baby begins to develop that sense of confidence that their needs can be met, that the parent is there to help them. And in this case, children learn that the adults or their peers are there to help them achieve in math because they can do it. We also see that as children age and form romantic relationships, or perhaps as young adults get married, that children who have secure attachment relationships form relationships with other children who have secure attachment relationships. It's as if they speak the same language. They form relationships in the same way. They believe in two-way communication. They believe in trust and consistency. They believe in sensitive responses. Children form with secure attachments have adult relationships that are trusting and non-hostile, that really help support that we're in it together, you can do it, warmth and high expectations. Really that same kind of script, if you will, children bring into their romantic relationships. So how do we make it easier for children to be ready for kindergarten? It's really how do we make it easier for babies to form secure attachments with their primary caregivers? How do we make it easier for parents to form secure attachment relationships with their babies? And those two questions are what we will be discussing in the next few sessions. Because our goal is 100% secure attachments, that the relationships that babies form with their primary caregivers, that includes teachers, that includes parents, and it may include grandparents depending on how, or aunties, or guardians, who babies need consistent, reliable, predictable, nurturing care in which their cues and signals are sensitively read and responded to, in which the delight in their learning comes from that adult, And babies need that secure base so that they can develop that own sense of confidence in themselves and in others.